Access to Justice Commissions and overview is provided by the Florida Bar Foundation. Access to Justice Commissions have been around for about 20 years, but it's a growing model that has had a significant impact on justice-related developments of the past decade. Many states have established an Access to Justice Commission, and in the wake of those occurrences, the Conferences of Chief Justices and Conference of State Court Administrators, as well as the American Bar Association, have passed resolutions supporting the creation and support of Access to Justice Commissions or comparable bodies in all states and territories. Access to Justice Commissions are truly blue ribbon entities. They bring together various sectors from around every state in order to create a coordinated effort to identify and remove barriers to civil justice for low-income and disadvantaged people. Access to Justice Commissions are truly blue ribbon entities. They bring together multiple sectors in a coordinated effort to identify and remove barriers to civil justice for low-income, middle-income, and disadvantaged people. Access to Justice Commissions have been around long enough that there are literally now definitions for what composes them. It's a formal entity at a leadership level with a core charge to expand access to civil justice at all levels. It's recognized by the highest court of the state, and its primary activities relate to planning, education, resource development, coordination, delivery system enhancement, and it meets on a regular basis with an ongoing responsibility for carrying out its charge. It has even been recognized in the most recent edition of Trends in State Courts with a wonderful article from two Supreme Court Justices, Justice Nathan Hecht of Texas and Thomas Kilbride of the Supreme Court of Illinois. But it's not just something that happens in the United States. The Canadian Supreme Court is recommending the creation of A2J commissions in all the provinces. And in Australia, they've noticed that the civil justice system as a whole has to deliver to the Australian community and determine where there are gaps, pressures, points, emerging trends, and opportunities. And it's not just here in the United States. The Canadian Supreme Court has recognized the power of access to justice commissions and is recommending them in all the provinces. In Australia, they are having discussions all over the country about the importance of the civil justice system, the need for innovation, and the need to identify gaps, pressure points, emerging trends, and opportunities. In the United States, the first Access to Justice Commission was created in 1994 in Washington State. The newest one is here in Florida. On November 24th, an administrative order creating the Florida Commission on Access to Civil Justice was signed. The Florida Commission was announced at a press conference attended by leaders from the founding partners, the Florida Bar, the Supreme Court, and the Florida Bar Foundation. Commissions all over the country have been active in a number of arenas in increasing public awareness of the need for civil legal assistance, in increasing state-level funding in a number of ways, including things such as pro hoc vice charges or changes in Cypre rules. They've increased pro bono service via judicial involvement, rules changes, and recruitment campaigns. They've helped make the courts more user-friendly and increased collaboration and coordination not only among legal aid and pro bono providers, but by involving community agencies and government agencies. They've promoted changes in the legal profession to make services more affordable promoted commitment among law students and new lawyers, and have begun to address related issues such as language access. There are commonalities in terms of formation. Most commissions were created or reauthorized by Supreme Court order. All have judicial membership. Many of them include Supreme Court justices and are chaired by Supreme Court justices. All but a handful have staffing. While the optimal size is 15 to 25 members, the smallest one only has 7 and the largest has 46. More than 24 provide a full report to the Supreme Court annually. Florida's commission follows a national trend, and that is to include all who cannot afford an attorney, not just low-income individuals who qualify for civil legal aid. One of the things that's most unique about Florida's commission is the significant business representation. Other commissions do have business representation, but it tends to be limited or limited only to corporate counsel. In launching a new commission, most recent ones have been created by the Supreme Court order or rule. But one of the things to note is that commissions, which involve so many different sectors, need to maintain some degree of independence from the court. However, the appointment of commission members is usually by the Supreme Court. There should be balance and diversity, and these commissions use committees or task forces to engage people and stakeholders not on commission. When you have 15 to 25 members, you can't begin to involve all of the different important stakeholders whose perspectives inform commission work. So typically, most of the commission's work is done at the work group or committee level involving multiple stakeholders. But there are key formation principles without which a commission will not be as effective as it otherwise could have. It is so critical that the members are prominent, well-known, high-profile, and willing to be strong, active leaders. The mission and scope should be broad, and it should be open to considering a full range of potential solutions after focusing on the barriers to civil justice. Commissions should be adequately staffed. Nothing is more important than the orientation of the members. That helps consolidate support from the stakeholder groups, builds energy and enthusiasm, and helps make sure that all commission members have the same understanding. In its earliest years, commissions should have a balanced agenda. Planning needs to be done, but it's important to have action along with short-term and long-term goals. There should be early successes. These models are also designed for institutionalization. Thus, the recent 20th anniversary celebration of the Washington State Commission. The American Bar Association Center for Access to Justice initiatives has studied and noted the hallmarks of an effective Access to Justice Commission. There must be a solid base of institutional support from the core legal community. That includes the judiciary, the organized bar, providers who give civil legal aid and pro bono assistance to low-income and vulnerable citizens, and the funders who are involved in supporting those organizations. It's so important that there be a critical mass of strong leadership peers that help move the commission agenda forward. But during the orientation process and during the work group and committee process, it's very important to engage partners beyond the core legal community. There should be a full range of activities and strategies. The focus should be on courts, on forms, on technology, on legal aid and pro bono, on the general public. Ongoing planning and self-assessment are critical to the success of an Access to Justice Commission. Many commissions conduct an annual or biannual self-assessment to determine how effective they are being and how they would like to conduct their planning in the future. These are not just commissions for show. Active engagement of the members at the commission level is critical as well. Leadership, peer-to-peer conversation, and engagement truly help to change the system. The committee or work groups bring in new partners and new perspectives. But it's difficult for the work to be done effectively without effective and adequate staffing. Visibility is critical. A strong and healthy, integrated and coordinated civil justice system and the awareness about it among the general public is key. So to communicate and create awareness among the general public, with the media, and all the various partners is important. And again, to have a respected presence that provides strong, effective leadership on the issues as they are discussed around the state in various communities and in various ways. The most common work group focus areas tend to be around several key topics. What is sufficient funding for the civil system? How can we increase pro bono? Can we use limited scope representation to increase services to all? What about language access? And how do we deal with the growing numbers of pro se and self-represented litigants? What role does technology play in everything we do? Other commissions have created websites, just as the Florida Commission has done. These websites include a great deal of information. They talk about the partners who are involved in these efforts. And they also provide places for the general public to get more information. The Texas Access to Justice Commission talks about their year in review. They cite champions for justice. They keep access to justice in the news and publish their mission and goals. The Arkansas Access to Justice Commission does the same, highlights justice news, publishes their annual report, talks about upcoming conferences, and the release of their economic impact study. Florida Commission on Access to Civil Justice website will do the same. There are multiple resources about commissions, as well as resources for commissions. There are multiple resources about commissions, where commission members, work groups, and other interested parties can go to learn what other commissions have done and are currently accomplishing. At the ABA Resource Center for Access to Justice Initiatives, information is aggregated. You can find key topical areas, the latest things going on all around the country, information about meetings, and even the news where Florida established its new Access to Civil Justice Commission. Another resource is at the National Center for State Courts, Center on Court Access to Justice for All. Here you see one of the acronyms that gets used, SRLs, that's self-represented litigants. There are other resources for commissions where you can find data and other information, both national, statewide, and local, for commission members and work groups to do their jobs. The U.S. Department of Justice has an Access to Justice initiative. The primary focus has been working with all federal agencies to assist them in understanding the importance of civil legal assistance in achieving their objectives. The Justice Index literally scores all 50 states on 4 key areas regarding the accessibility of justice: attorney access, self-representation, language assistance, and disability assistance. Here you see the aggregate scores from all 50 states and a state-by-state composite index. But you can go on this website and drill down into the information at a statewide level. Other resources for commissions include the Self-Represented Litigants Network Library, where thousands of articles are kept and searchable on all kinds of topics around self-help programs across the country. Another place to look is legalaidresearch.org. This site aggregates all of the latest studies and research around civil legal assistance. This is very useful to policymakers, researchers, the media, and legal aid practitioners. In addition, every year there are national meetings. The ABA sponsors an Equal Justice Conference every year in the spring, attended by hundreds of law school deans, law school students, pro bono practitioners, legal aid practitioners, judges, and commission members. On the Saturday of that meeting, the Access to Justice Commission chairs and stakeholders gather by invitation only to share their experiences with each other. Over 40 jurisdictions took part in 2014, and among the attendees were 20 Supreme Court justices. Other resources, if you have more time to read, include the ABA Access to Justice blog and Richard Zorz's Access to Justice blog. There is an incredible amount of information about access to justice technologies available to everyone. This occurs largely because the Federal Legal Services Corporation has been funding technology innovations and pilot grants for almost 15 years and have invested more than $45 million in that funding. All of these pilot projects and larger projects, information is available to anyone. The national legal aid community shares information openly in a number of ways. Think of it as having law firms all across the country who are not in competition with each other, but instead work in partnership and openly and freely share information. Not only can you call any legal aid or pro bono practitioner and ask them how their technology works, how their project works, there are actually sites where you can find out who to call. There's an annual National Legal Aid Technology Innovations Conference. There's a National Technology Assistance Project which produces webinars on hundreds of subjects, all of which are archived on YouTube. All 50 states have lawhelp.org websites. These websites provide information to the general public. They provide information password protected to legal aid and pro bono advocates as well. And there's a national content sharing system hub. I would encourage you to take a look at the Anyone, Anytime, Anywhere video, which really talks about the vision for using technology to expand access to justice. It was recorded at the most recent White House conference on access to justice. In addition, in recent years, a report of the Summit on the Use of Technology to Expand Access to Justice is available on the Legal Services Corporation website. This summit brought together more than 75 representatives of legal aid programs, courts, government, and business, as well as technology experts. This concludes the initial overview of Access to Justice commissions. We hope that you will feel free to contact other commissioners, to check out these resources, to look for best practices, and to depend on the wonderful legal aid and pro bono providers and the Florida Bar Foundation, the Florida Bar, and the Supreme Court to assist you in learning more about civil access to justice.